So good day, everybody. And today, I don't think the lady on the screen here needs any introduction. When it comes to the nursing fraternity, everybody knows her. A lady full of grace, lots of wisdom, been in the nursing profession for more than 40 years, and now likes to be called as a nurse entrepreneur. Welcome to our show, Thankam ma'am. It's my pleasure to have you on my show. Thank you for doing this for me.
Thank you so much, Pearl, for this beautiful opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful for that. You're doing a wonderful job of, canning a lot of stories for generations to watch and learn and get motivated. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Atan, ma'am. Right, ma'am. So, more than 4 decades into this profession, one of the early nurse leaders was probably contributed a lot to elevate the position of nursing, and you have completely explored every facet of nursing, I would say, and now you're a master of your own rules, if I may say so. So, when you embarked on this journey of nursing, ma'am, did you ever think you would land up as a nurse entrepreneur? Did it ever cross your mind?
If I'm to be honest, no, I never thought I would become an entrepreneur. So every facet of my life, I had some aspirations, right? So when I became a young nurse, I wanted to become a nursing director. Initially it was nursing superintendent. Then when I reached there, I realized there is something called group nursing head. I said, now I want to be that. So with each, padao, you would say in Hindi. So you started thinking, I want to be that. And somewhere once I left the nursing head position, the group head position, and I went into a different arena, that is education, simulation, etc. There I had to do get into deep into business, and business marketing, sales, everything I had to get into. So a lot of people told me, ma'am, you're so good in marketing. I said, marketing? Me? He said, you are always marketing, very nicely you market. So I slowly started thinking, maybe, yes, I can. And then when I joined my friends in their venture, I realized that, I could design, you know, solutions that could be given to people, which can get converted into business. And God has gifted me something called, making things simpler for other people to understand, which I realized is the gift from God for many, many years ago, even when I was training people on ECG, long way, long time back in Saudi, some young doctors came into my class for ECG when I was taking for nurses.
Mhm.
Later, they came and told, we never understood the basics of ECG till today. Professors used to teach us, and it used to go just like that. But today, you made it so simple to understand the conduction system. Now it's like a picture. We understand that. So I knew that there is something that God has gifted me. So I realized that I should exploit that. Though there is a saying, no, hide it under a bushel. Oh no, I'm gonna let it shine. So
That's
I
right.
decided if any gift is given to me by God, it is given with a purpose, so I should exploit it. So once I reached there, then I realized, maybe I can be on my own. So that's the time, I had to have a chat with my son and my
Mhm.
brother that, can I go solo? So
Mhm.
they asked me some numbers as a solo in that company, how much money you were bringing. And at that junction, my son had already graduated, so there was no compulsion for me to be looking at a particular, figure. I had only EMI and few my on my own responsibility, running house, etc. So I knew that I can make that much on my own. And I also wanted to do the things the way that I wanted to do. So my brother did ask me a question. When finally I had to decide, no, I did all the SWOT and everything, that if
Mhm.
I go solo, what are the weakness, threat, all that stuff I wrote. Then he asked me, Chechi, what do you want to do? When you get up in the morning, you want to decide you want to work today or I don't want to work today.
Mm.
So I said, now at this stage, maybe I would like to decide on my own whether I want to work or I don't want to work. Then he said, why are you thinking? Tell your friends you are branching off, starting on your own. So that's how it was decided. So I never thought, initially, I never thought I would. And today, uh, yeah, I think it's a fantastic journey. And ask anyone who's interested, they should become and pursue their passion. And if that
Right.
passion get converted into a business, nothing like.
You have an amazing journey, ma'am. I remember the first time that I met you. You were working with Berkeley Health at that time, and it was a whole journey about nursing education, I guess. And I came to Delhi for the interview. It was the first time I was meeting you, and of course, as a young nurse, facing somebody who is so mature and so experienced, it's always that anxiety that builds in. Uh, but when I met you for the first time, you had the same radiant smile that you have now, and I was standing there, and the whole presentation that I did, and the way you encouraged and acknowledged, and I still see that spark in you today also. You encourage so many young nurses, just go out and fly there. There's so much to do. And that support that you extend, anytime if somebody asks, Tangam ma'am, I need to ask you something, you always give a time and say, surely I will take out time to talk to you. And I think that's what, is a biggest art of somebody who is an entrepreneur, who is always willing to help somebody, who always sees that passion, the way you have yourself. You see that passion in them, and come on, encourage them and say, let's go ahead. So I think you are a big blessing to the profession of nursing in India, ma'am. Thank you
Uh,
so much.
I
um,
feel honored and I feel more responsible when people tell me such things. I tell my son, I don't think I can hack my boots yet. So he keeps telling you keep on talking about hanging your boards. I don't think that you will. And today I saw this video of this. I think this nurse is 97. She's still
yes,
working in Japan.
yes,
So I
in
told, oh
Japan.
my God, Tankam, you have no excuse now not to be working. Okay. So I'm looking forward to continuing to contribute as much as I can.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's like it said, once a nurse, always a nurse. Whatever profession you jump,
Yes,
if God wants you to be a nurse, whatever hats you wear, you will still have that core nursing within you.
definitely.
Yeah, ma'am. So now that you spend, like, I think you have seen generations of nursing being changing, the profession being changing. So what do you think are the major, changes that the nursing community has had over the decades, the positive changes, and the ones you feel that probably are not worth continuing?
Okay. So I would say, I was telling somebody the other day, I wish I was a nurse, young nurse at this period of time. There is so much going on, there's a lot of values when we were nurses. The core values of nursing, the bhav of seva, you know that was instilled. I would say that was
Mm,
something positive. And the the satisfaction, the enjoyment that we got when a patient smiled at you, when a patient felt better, the way that we felt for our patients, uh, that has shifted, I would say. That has shifted. But I will not say that it is negative, because that's how
mm,
the world is going. So I was actually attending a webinar on Gen Z the other day. Yesterday
mhm,
was my learning day, so I was looking at many other things. So I'm planning to do one on managing Gen Z nurses, because this was done
wow,
by acclaimed, professor, and very good and basic understanding that how do you manage Gen Z. So the attitude or the ethos of nursing probably has changed. I wouldn't like to use the word worse, but it has become
mm,
more practical.
mhm,
People are looking at nursing like a job.
mm,
In my time, it was more like a calling. It's like
right,
calling. It's a calling,
yeah,
like you want to become a priest or a nun. So you want to
mm,
become a nurse because you
nice,
want to serve others. Though I didn't join for the seva or anything. I joined because I couldn't become a doctor. So I decided, okay, I can become a nurse, simple as that.
mm,
But
mm,
believe me, Pearl, that the journey of being a nurse has been extremely blessed. It had its own ups and downs, I would say. But then when you look at a book which is 40 years, when you look at it, you actually see a lot of good things, lot of blessings there. You don't see anything else. So I'm not very sure that today nurses have everything on their fingertip.
Mm.
If I was young, I would also be excited to do all these things that you're doing, NXL, XSL, whatever, So then I again go back and say each one has a role to play on this earth. So I have something to do, so I'm doing that, right? So
Right.
nursing, what has happened primarily from a calling, it has now become a job. I mean, it's an
Mm.
opportunity to have a non, what you call, non non-recession job,
Mm.
recession proof,
The
recession
decision proof.
proof job you can have if you become a nurse, which is nothing wrong in
Mm.
that. So I used to
Mm.
tell my nurses one thing is that I have no issues. You don't need to feel for your patient. You don't need to think about your patient. You don't need to cry for your patient. I don't want you to do all that stuff. But I
Mm.
want you to fulfill the JD. Unfortunately, the JD calls for you to be empathetic and compassionate and, you know, doing everything for the patient, right? So just fulfill
Absolutely.
your JD. That's all I need. So I think I would majorly say that only. But the one very important thing to notice is that current times, the percentage of very smart nurses have gone up. Very smart, I would say, the cerebral ones, the intellectual ones, the people who can think and contribute in a very, very effective manner to a discussion, or to a business, that
Mhm.
percentage have gone up. And I'm very proud of the many leaders who have grown up from the old nursing administration, but they have very quickly upgraded themselves to the current requirement. Whether sitting in the boardroom and, discussing the finances, the business, they have upgraded themselves. So if that generation nurses can pick up and come till here and be a role model for others, so I feel the younger generation have no excuse. I wouldn't say it's a blanket statement across the board, but the percentage of gems shining is probably more than what it
It
was in
was.
my younger time. I would like to summarize that way. So
Mm.
that's why I personally feel that there is so much that we can achieve for the profession if
Mm.
the young ones would put their heart and mind into it.
Into it. I think, ma'am, also what has happened probably is the social perception of nursing fraternity has, changed over the period of time also. Earlier days, I
Exactly.
don't know how many of them felt saying proudly that, oh, I'm a nurse, and the way people used to raise their eyebrows, it was either, okay, it's a very mediocre job sort of thing. But I think now probably the perception has changed. And
And
that's why,
thanks to COVID for that.
thanks to,
To
absolutely,
some
ma'am. Yes.
extent, it is thanks to
Yes.
COVID because suddenly the parents realized, oh, there is something called nursing. Huh? The whole world is,
Right.
appreciating nursing, tali bajaying and all this stuff. Suddenly the profession became, they it came to the forefront, and, the parents were
Right.
okay. But I wouldn't say that it is all hunky dory across our country.
Mm.
It is not
Mm.
so. There are still
Mm.
pockets in India where many nurses, unfortunately, I need to be a little candid also here.
Mm.
Not many nurses even today would like to say that I'm a nurse,
Right, ma'am.
right? So but
Yeah.
that shift is happening slowly. The shift is happening
Slowly.
slowly, and the shift will happen to those who take the responsibility of being a nurse and build themselves, so that
Mm.
when they actually stand up, they don't have nobody has to ask. They are already respecting the
Mm.
person, and when that person
Mm.
says I'm a nurse, oh, that is the expression. To a doctor or a IAS officer, nobody will say that, oh, you're a doctor,
Mm.
oh, you are a nurse. So
Mm.
that that attitude can change only when more and more nurses will become like Pearl, younger ones, confident, speaking up,
Yeah.
and reading up, and, able to hold their fort when they are talking to someone. And I'm sure that not 100 percentage of the nurses will be, public speaking or anything like that, but they are confident in their role. When you are
Right.
with the patient, you are confident in talking to the patient and the doctor because that is the call of the duty.
Mm.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the percentage as it increases, I'm very sure there will be more light on the profession.
Yeah. I'm sure. And I
And
think
all these things
that's
are
what the
adding up to it, and you are doing a great job.
Thank you so
I
much,
would say
ma'am.
that.
Thank you. Always been a great encourager for me in everything that I was trying to do. I remember, again, another incident when I had gone for my NABH training, and uh, I've still not completed, but I had started to write a book on top 10 nursing leaders of India. And I said, ma'am, I'm at Delhi. Would you be available to have a chat with me? And you were like, yes, I'll see you today. And I remember how we went down in the restaurant and we sat together, and I still have the notes with me, and I promise I will finish that, finish
Oh,
that book.
you must, because we all are dilly dallying what we are writing. I also started a book called 10 by 10 Principles of Nursing Leadership. It's my way of,
Hmm.
putting it across. So I wrote few chapters, and then it is
Yeah.
still there in the same place. So I'm reminding myself again and again and again. But
Again.
I'm
Yeah.
also learning the latest technology, chat GPT and everything,
Yes.
to make my life
Yes.
easier. And believe me, your productivity can go up like anything
Up.
if you learn
Yeah.
chat GPT. So my dear friends, whoever is listening to this, if I can learn, so can you. All the
Can
youngsters
you?
sitting out there.
That's something about you, ma'am, that you try to learn the newer things and try to imbibe the old value systems into the newer thing, and there is this beautiful culmination. I also see that in ANEI. That brings to our next question. You've been a founder member of ANEI, many more credentials too, part of a FICCI National Healthcare Committee. These are very, very few things that I'm talking about. There is, I think we can probably write a book into how many associations you are with. Then I've also seen the Patient Safety Movement Foundation, and many such initiatives where you have always played a role as the advocate for nursing, very strongly spoken about nursing. How do how much do you think that these communities or the associations, have helped you in enabling uh, nursing community to gain its rightful position?
I would say we are not there yet, but we have begun the movement. Yes,
Mhm.
there is so much more that also we can do, because um, there is strength in numbers. That is why associations are very important. And this was my brainchild when I went to USA for the conference of, that time it was called AONE, Association, American Organization of Nurse Executives. So that was in
Mhm.
2011 when they had invited me to speak in their conference in Boston. So when I went there, I met the CEO and I said, there is nothing like this in India. I would like to go back. I said, I don't like to go to conferences and don't take any action. So INS also was, a
Mhm.
product of all of us going to US. That time I had
Mhm.
told Dr. Jain, then I told, we should bring something like this back to India. So that had genesis there. This one was a personal commitment. I would like to do this, Then she said, all the very best. So there were people who were willing to come with me, but it kind of went into a sabbatical, 2011 to 2017. But it was always there in my mind, discussing with people. So that is another thing that I like to share with everyone, is that don't let any of your dreams or your special goals that you set for yourself, don't let it die down completely. Keep it
Right.
burning, and as long as you visualize that it is happening, it will happen, because I believe in the power of the universe, and I believe in the power of positive thinking. It's very, very important. And for me, gratitude is a very big thing. Every
Very
time I think of everything with a lot of gratitude. So that's how Annie could come together. And yes, I would still say we can still do more if a lot of associations in India, if they can
good.
come together, you know like Nat Health, what they do, they bring all the federations together and they became one body. So
Mhm.
when like this, when you all come together, the voice is heard. in the rightful
Right.
places at the right time. So I'm really hoping we have taken the step. We are moving forward.
Mm.
I'm so honored and I am so grateful for all that Annie could achieve so far. And Patient Safety Movement Foundation Association was another thing that I explored. I found PSMF. I offered myself as a technical, committee member. So I was taken in
Mm.
there. So I went for the meetings and then I decided to talk about Annie. Then I thought, we should bring a fellowship program and if they can, give us permission. That's how it happened. And I'm so happy that we finished three cohorts and we'll be starting the fourth cohort. And Dr. Michael Ramsey, who's the CEO of Patient Safety Movement Foundation, he's very happy to be associated with us, and they all will
Mhm.
be presenting their projects this year. I think collectively we can multiply the effects that we have on healthcare in India. We
Yes.
just have to make ourselves so good. People cannot, you know, neglect us. I tell my nurses is that if you want to be noticed, become so good that they cannot but help talk about you. A great
Right.
nurse will be always talked about, right? They will say,
Yes.
look at that girl, she's so good. Intensivist will come and tell me, ma'am, good catch, huh? Good boy, good girl. But they're only far and few, few and far.
Mm.
But more numbers will come out, then that's the day we can say we have arrived. But
Right.
before we arrive, we have to start. So we have started the
Start.
journey. Through Annie, I would say. So we are trying to, so wherever I can, if I, whether I'm going to FICCI, whether I'm going to Health Sector Skill Council, wherever possible, I try to see, is there something that I can pitch Annie for? Because you need to focus on something. You cannot focus on
Yeah.
100 things. So Annie is my focus, and I'll see that whether I
Mm.
can, bring something to Annie so that Annie can contribute back, because
Co-
Annie is of people. Annie is
Yes. Yes.
nobody,
I
Annie is all of us, right?
Yes, yes. And I see a lot of, it's gaining a lot of momentum. I think this year's conference was very successful. I can see so many young nurses coming up, speaking on the podium. It's a delight to watch, all of them so enthusiastic and having a great hope in this profession and saying it has started its journey. And probably in a couple of years, this profession is going to get its due.
Get
So thank you.
some new ideas. I wrote to the president yesterday. I said, see, the thing is, you must read. This is very important. You must read news of what is happening elsewhere, what's happening in International Council of Nursing, what's happening in
Yes,
Europe, what's
yes.
happening. And when you read something, no, then suddenly you get an idea. Why not I
Hmm.
do this? So I'm not
Hmm.
talking about about what I wrote is because still I'm waiting for a reply, but I am sure the reply will be yes, because this is an initiative to bring students and young nurses into the fold of Annie.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about it because I get very excited when I think of young nurses, because tomorrow is theirs. If
Yes.
today we invest in them, tomorrow can be brighter.
Writer.
Yeah.
True. That's quite selfless, ma'am, and you've always shown that character. Uh, and probably all these things which culminates to be a nurse entrepreneur. So let's dwell a bit on Thankam Gomez as the entrepreneur now, and tell us more about your company, Cygnia Healthcare. How did that happen, and what does it do?
Thanks to COVID again.
Right.
So,
We have a lot to thank to COVID. I mean, I only.
personally, I would definitely thank COVID because
Yeah.
it showed me the path, I would say. Because in my previous organization, which was definitely a consulting kind of a company, I was heading the nursing services. So I was doing consulting, training, leadership, and all the things that I'm doing now. I was doing there also, but I was traveling.
Mm,
I was doing
mm,
everything in person. Then
mm,
one day, lockdown.
mm,
Then suddenly the life came to standstill. I said, oh my God, what are we going to
mm,
do? Where are we going to go? So I have never been on Facebook or anything. So first thing I did was how to do a session on Facebook because I have seen people talking on Facebook. So I learned and I started doing small, webinars on Facebook. Then I said, this is not, this is, this kind of one way, okay, thumbs up and all these things
Mm.
going, it's good. But
Mm.
then how do we make business? So again, I
Right.
had to educate myself and then I found Zoom. Then I remember March 24th was the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
2020 was the lockdown.
Mm.
And within couple of months on Zoom, I launched the first course called the Crisis Management for Nurse Leaders.
Mm.
Because it was a crisis, right? And
That's
the
true. Yeah.
nurse leaders were caught, unaware. They had no idea.
Mm.
So I first educated myself, and believe me, those lockdown days, I felt so guilty of not being at the war front. I said in the entire life, I never had to face anything like this. And when everybody is suffering, I am sitting at home. I felt guilty. I mean, a lot of people felt like that. So I told myself, I need to do what I can do. So I did a
Mm.
lot of stuff, which can be done on the phone, talking to people, trying to understand. A lot of calls came to me of, lack
Mm.
of resources, not
Yeah.
paying attention, they're not getting mask, they're not getting a 95 mask. So I had called people, I have called CEOs, I had called CNOs to say that, without taking name, that this is what I heard, how can we support? So there's a lot of upheaval happening outside and within me. So learned how to do
Mm.
sessions online. And then slowly I learned I can do a lot of stuff of online. So July 2020, so from March till,
Mm.
April, May, June, like that,
Mm.
I was in a turmoil. It was like me, I was finding ways, I was finding solution. So then, but then I had a team that I had to talk to also,
Mm.
right? So I told myself, I'm doing everything and then I'm talking to a team. It may get yes or it may not get yes. Do I really need to do this? So I started talking to
Mm.
my brother and my son, I think I can go solo.
Mm.
So that's how the thought came. And the more I thought about it, I felt very happy. Imagine here, I don't have to tell anyone what I am going to do. I don't have to take permission from anyone. Another role you have to say, okay, I will, discuss with my team and come back. Even if I am a senior
Mm.
leader, I still
Yeah.
cannot say yes or something to, because it's a
Mm.
team decision, right? But being solo means you decide. So someone called me later, asked, what's up? I said, I'm saying yes and no very quickly. So he asked me, there's my ex-CEO. So he said, what do you mean by that? I said, I'm my own boss, no? So now I can tell yes or no very quickly. That's it. They said, okay, enjoy. So once the thought came, usually this happens with me, in most of my major events in my life, it start to, what do you call it? You start to think about, you
Mm.
know, you're moving it around in your brain. Should I not, like that, like that, like that.
Right.
You're thinking already, I think I should do this, even
Mm.
before COVID came, I'd been thinking about it, maybe I should go solo, it's every time going back and talking to a team at this time, maybe not required anyway. I can bring in, I have enough connections, I have enough experience, I have certain expertise in certain areas, so I can build a business around that, right? I thought about it, I'd been thinking about it. Then God sends COVID. I'm sure that He didn't send COVID just because I wanted to
Yeah.
make a decision. But a lot of things changed for a lot of people with COVID,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's a milestone in everyone's life. And the way I reflect back in my life, I think for every major event, there was something called a trigger. So I
Yes.
believe that, God is playing chess, no? Or not a chess, it's actually a jigsaw puzzle, right? So the pieces are lying here and there, but we don't know where they are. So he keeps moving it to the right place so the picture will become more clearer, right? So that is what happened in my life on major milestones. When I'm thinking, should I be doing? then suddenly something will happen that will force me to make that decision. And now it's
Exactly.
time, you better do the decision, so the Cygnia Healthcare, though name was decided, me and my son, going back and forth looking at this, and my son created the logo, he created the website for me, and then slowly I started. And today, as I sit, I talk about, I say do less work on site,
Mm,
do more online. So all my leadership program now I insist online. It's only because I can run it for longer time. I've done
mm,
the on-site
yeah.
version, which kind of finishes 3 days, 5 days like that. And after that,
Mm,
finished. But when you do an
mm,
online, you're with them for at least, 8, 12 weeks, and sometimes it is even more. You're spending time with
mm,
them. So you're in connection. So they can ask questions. I can get
yeah.
back to them. And probably that way the participants, they get to get more from the course, so that's how it happened. So Cygnia, what it does, it does consulting, for
Mm-hmm.
various, either it is for MNCs or for hospitals. I develop contents, I design the content, and sometimes I design content for the sake of only the content. I don't deliver.
Mm,
Some people that ask me to design the content and deliver as well,
mm,
and that I will do. Also, now my next thing that I am planning to do is the coaching, services, the
mm-hmm.
coaching for nurse leaders, one to one. I'm hoping to do that. This is
Mm,
something I wanted to do for a long time. So this is what I do. And today I got a call from one of the CEO, who was asking that, can you work with us to, he said I was very happy to hear that. I cannot take names. He said, I want to put the hoarding of a hospital, come to us for the best nursing care. He said,
wow.
I want to do it with confidence, and I
Mm,
want you to help us to build that. And I said, it's a very tall order, but I'm so excited that you are looking forward to doing that. I said, I love to be part of it. I said, we'll get into it. So I will be, kind of getting into it. I haven't done that for some time now. That would mean I have to go there. It cannot be done online. You need to go there and experience, right?
right.
But
Right.
the vision of CEO, it has changed. So I must say that it's all good stories. I don't think in my time somebody would say that we want to do that. Though Holy Family was known for nursing care, nobody had to
Yes.
market it. So even the
Yeah.
doctors used to get oriented, saying that, please be aware of nurses here. They are very different.
Mm,
They're very empowered.
mm,
They will ask questions. So that's my pedigree. So I'm very honored, very, very, very
mm,
honored to be part of that. Organization. Even when I went to Saudi, people started asking only the Holy Family girls, what is
mm.
the connection between you and her? I said, what is the connection? We both are short. They said, no, 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 it's not the short. I mean, you both are like confident, talking, you're
Mm,
asking questions, your clinical acumen is good. So I said,
mm,
yo, thank you. We need to tell our hospital. So it's from Holy
mm,
Family, School of Nursing. We are from there. And they have taught us to be like that. So I'm very, very grateful, and always remember my organization with lot of, gratitude, and that foundation is so strong. So I do a lot of different things, and I do get time to give for Annie. I don't have to ask when I have to go for a meeting. I don't have to inform my CEO that I'm going to be
mm.
in the meeting. And if I want to block two
Nice.
days of mine to go for conference, I don't have to ask that.
Mm,
People have to take leave and go. Now I give
yeah.
myself leave, no, and I go. So that
That's
freedom
true.
is something to be experienced, and then also knowing that how to make generate revenue, that is also important,
Important.
because
That's
you must understand maths a little bit, you must understand business a little bit, how to
yes.
price your services, courses, and how do you negotiate or you don't negotiate. So now
Yeah.
I do have a my own tariff, right? So I need to be
Yeah.
fair to everyone. So if someone new come and they say, no, no, can you give us more discount? I say, I'm so sorry. This is already being done for others at this rate. So
Mm,
I really cannot. Either you say yes or you can say no, no big deal. No. So I'm very firm with that. But when you're doing a business in a business thing, sometimes you may have to forego certain things and take some other decisions.
I'm. I just wonder: is our Indian, healthcare platform ready for nurse entrepreneurs? Will it support nurse? I'm sure there are plenty out there who would like to do something on their own. There are some who have probably even started something on their own. But do you think our Indian healthcare platform, is quite friendly or supportive to the nurses who want to be
See, I
entrepreneurs?
would say that I wouldn't say that we will be treated as equal to someone else that we are, doing business with. So I would, those who are wanting to become a entrepreneur, I would say find your niche. Niche means that's your specialty, so that
Yeah.
you have the expertise in that. The other day I was talking to someone, so she said, I want to do some business. So I said, see, if you are a fresh nurse and you want to do a business, you cannot do a business on an expert domain. It's not possible because you don't know that domain.
Hmm.
When you don't know the domain, you cannot. But suppose you say, okay, you want to partner with someone and you want to create a technology solution, but for that also you must understand nursing more better, so that the
Yes.
technology solution will come out more relevant than anything else,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I would say it is not totally against it, but it is tough. And I would say I am successful. I always try to say the andho mein kana raja. No,
Yeah.
I like to stay humble. I like to stay humble. It's only because I have decided to stay focused on my expert domain, that is nursing. I decided to
True.
do that because I learned this very quickly, because I can do in multidisciplinary soft skill training, I can do the communication. Then I realized that, if I want the healthcare people to call me as a trainer to train their doctors and everybody else, it is definitely going to be a challenge. It's not going to happen that quickly. So I said, I don't want to build a business empire because my son is least interested in what I am doing. So I want to do things the way that I want to do. And my prime driver was that I need to invest in nursing. So I
Yeah.
decided not to dilute my focus and
Mm.
stay focused around nursing. So it is very important to find your passion and then
Yeah.
educate yourself around that.
Yes.
Meet people,
Yes.
try to understand. You have a niche there. You have a niche there, so you will have less competition. So in business, they call about red water, blue water, all these things. In MBA people they teach. So in red ocean there could be pockets of blue ocean. A lot of people are doing now. When it comes to healthcare,
Yes.
we have thousands of hospitals. Did that stop anyone from starting another hospital?
Another hospital.
They start the hospital, but competition is there. So
Mm.
today's call came because that CEO now want to make a statement which is no other hospital has made. Everybody is making statements on their robotics, sensors, and this.
Mm.
Everybody is doing that. Technology, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So now this person says, now I am going to do a blue ocean within the red ocean, right? Which is actually the truth, because in any
Mm.
healthcare delivery system, if you have great nurses, I am sure that your patient retention will definitely be better. I'm sure that people who have the courage to become an entrepreneur, they're a different breed. They are courageous, they can take risk, so they
Yeah.
have certain qualities in them. That's why they are thinking. Nobody should think of become an entrepreneur, or just because they looked at someone and say, oh, she's an entrepreneur, I can also become. No. Look
No.
at yourself first, whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah. Right. So that's quite well put and well said, ma'am. Yeah. If it's in you, it will just come out. Like you said. Even if you try to hide it, it's just going to show up because you have it in you. I was reading this book. Malcolm Gladwell is an author who
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah. I have a
kind
lot
of.
of his books here.
You too. Yeah. So I've read his
But
Blink.
today,
Uh,
still my favorite is Simon Sinek.
Is it? Okay, I haven't.
Malcolm is an old writer. He has written a lot of leadership books. So which book you are referring to?
No, ma'am. So there is this particular book. One is the tipping point. So when you were talking about COVID as an adversity, so he talks about something that has been happening. But you need that right moment when things just turn over and things take
Yes,
effect at that time. So that was
exactly.
one thought which came to me. The second, as we were talking about how nursing is coming up now, I also remember of his book called David versus Goliath, where he talks about the way David was such a small, punitive man, but he defeated Goliath like a big giant. And I
Yeah.
think we need to draw inspiration from that. We see, as a community, we are big because every hospital, the maximum manpower is of nurses. But we are like David, timid, small. We sometimes don't know what powers we have within us. But I think we all need to draw inspiration and say, yeah, if David could defeat Goliath, I think we as nurses, if we trust in our abilities, everybody has a great power within them. And if we trust our abilities, come out in the open, I think somewhere nursing is going to increase in leaps and bounds. And I wish well to that CEO who has this vision. And I'm sure with you on board, you will definitely make his vision come true. And I really wish him well. On that note, ma'am, let's move on to our next session. Next section, the rapid fire round.
Oh,
So here we're
okay.
going to here we're going to ask you 7 questions. Whatever comes to your mind, you got to answer that. So are you ready
Okay.
for this? All right. So
I
are you
I
ready?
am ready. I'm only
All
thinking
right.
how to make it short when the questions come my way. Okay. Let me see
Here you
what
go.
comes to my mind first thing. Today I'm going to
Uh,
challenge myself and see
Perfect. Perfect, ma'am. So here we go. Question number one. One thing that has got you where you are today.
my passion.
And we all can see that well displayed. Next one. One thing that young nurses have in them. You wish you had it in you too in your early days of your career.
Oh, I wish I had all this technology at my hand when I was growing. I would have
True.
loved to have that.
I completely agree, ma'am. I mean, technology has its own pros and cons, but I think if rightly used, it really makes our life much, much more easier. Moving on to the third one. One advice you would give to your younger self.
My younger self, one advice I would say, you could have been less intimidating to your teammates. You know why? I don't know. Without even knowing, I was told that I became a ward in charge when I was just having 8 months old, 8 months old, 8 months experience. And when I went to Saudi, someone came and told, she interacted with me and she said, Thankam, we were so afraid of you when we were in Holy Family. I said, what is there to be afraid of you? So I used to think, is my personality even today? I think people do have a little bit of perception, that maybe she's not reachable. So people have to come a little
Hmm.
closer to me. So if I practice that, then if someone gave me feedback, maybe I could have done something about it. I don't know. I sometimes I feel, yeah, I could have been less intimidating, maybe.
That's a surprising one. I don't think you're at all intimidating, ma'am. Maybe because I have, met you at close quarters and experienced
Yeah.
that. Probably that's the reason why. Right. Moving on to the fourth one. One advice you would give to the non-nursing healthcare leaders to enable nursing empowerment.
I would only say that invest in strong leaders. Don't look for weaklings so that your job can be done easily.
Hmm.
Take pride in those leaders who will ask you questions and assert. Because
Right.
my answers tend to be pretty recent because there's some things that happening where we see this phenomenon where CEOs they like to have weaker leaders, nurse
Hmm.
leaders, because
Hmm.
that way they have more control on that
Control on
largest
that.
community. I'm being very, very candid here,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And there are CEOs who would like to have very strong leaders,
Hmm.
who would look after their department. They participate in all the other services. They ask questions.
Hmm.
Asking questions is good for growth,
Yeah.
good for improvement, right?
Hmm.
So I would tell the healthcare CEOs, give opportunity to those strong leaders to get involved into the
Yeah.
business of caring, and they will bring a lot of value.
But they would.
Don't
I'm
invest in,
certain.
weak leaders.
And similarly, ma'am, one advice you'd give to nursing leaders to empower our nurses.
Well, I would only say, please respect them, involve them, listen to them. Don't talk to them. Involve them, make the decision together, and then do it together with them. Be with them. That's very important.
Yeah.
Be among the youngsters and listen to them. And this is a voice I every time hear when we have elocution competitions
Mm.
from the Gen
Young man.
Z. When they come to talk about, like what do they expect from leaders, I
Mm.
hear these three words: listen to us, involve us, speak to us. Three things, and we tend to do things to them. No,
Mm.
do things with them.
With them.
That's very important.
Participative. Yeah. Participative leadership, ma'am. It does wonders. I completely agree with you on that. Moving on to our sixth one. One thing you would change for the profession of nursing if you had been given that power.
One thing I would change for nursing if I had the power. What is that one thing that I would change is probably the design of the delivery of nursing education. How we deliver the education.
Mm-hmm.
I would like I would definitely love to make it more experiential.
Mm. Yes.
It because finally they come and touch the patient. It's a life, right?
Yes.
So it cannot be all theory and reading from books. The critical thinking, the human skills, all those things needs to be developed. So the before that you have to invest in the educators
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
who will do the right things.
Right
They
thing.
go hand in hand. If I had the power, I mean, probably that is what I would say. I'll take all the education. You have to look at it in a different way altogether.
Yeah.
It If
Yeah.
college education is happening, then some education has to come inside the hospital in some form. It
Yes.
has to come.
Yeah. Yeah. It builds. Like you said, the foundation is strong. The way you had in Holy Family, the way some nursing colleges still do it. Uh, you really see a great output. And I've always seen these are the nurses who flourish and go up to leadership positions and do something different in the community. So, yeah. Moving on to our last one, ma'am. One motivational quote that inspires you to continue your journey with such enthusiasm.
So I only tell that advice to go before I sleep, because I am always brimming with ideas. So there are so many ideas, so there is no time for me to think, let me stop and let me retire, let me do something. So it's like every day there is some new idea coming up. So I if no ideas come for few days, then I feel a little demotivated. So then I will start searching in books and somewhere else. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. So, as we come to the end of this session, ma'am, there's one last question which I always ask the nurse leaders, and which is also the what do you call the vision of this show. How do you think we can make nursing visible?
See, all of us are doing different things. Collectively we are making nurses more visible, but one thing that can really make the nurses visible is with the nurses who are at the bedside. If those bedside nurses will become the real patient advocate, they're very knowledgeable about the patient, they
Yeah.
ask the right questions to the doctors, they champion the patient's cause, that all these things have to be enabled by the leaders,
Yes.
and that needs to be enabled by the education department. So we are all interconnected, but
Yes.
then I cannot go and change the education system. So I am doing what I can with the help of Annie, through this webinar, saying yes to many different things. You are doing what you can do. Collectively we are making difference. There are other youngsters who are doing different things which are bringing some, what you call, focus light on nurses. And it's very important for other people to see nurses doing different things.
Different.
So like Pearl doing podcast, doing your NXL. That is unique, and it is very important people to know that this is an Indian nurse who is doing this, right? I am very proud to say, and probably I'm the only nursepreneur who is doing the
Mm.
kind of work that I am doing. Now, with Nurse India, we're doing fireside chat with the senior leaders. So I told Indrani the other day, now we need to bring the younger generation
Yes.
to the talk show. And so we will do what we have to do, you will do what you have to do, and many others will do what they have
What
to
they
do.
have to do
And then collectively,
collectively.
probably we can put a lot of light on this profession. And yes, very important to showcase nurses are smart, intelligent, critical thinking, and these three things to come together, each nurse and each leader has to invest in themselves. This is
Mm.
very, very important. No, anybody can invest money on you, but if you fail to invest in yourself, then it's a waste,
It's
right?
a waste.
So we all have to rise up. As an individual nurse, we have to rise up, and more people who come out of their comfort zone and do things differently, we have faster hope of shining that spotlight on our profession. And it's
Fantastic.
happening, and I'm very optimistic that it will happen.
This way. I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure to, ma'am. And with nurse leaders like you and many others who are really doing a lot for the profession, I'm sure there are people who are here ready to, take the baton as you all pass on the wisdom, the baton. There are many people who are coming up thanks to so many associations that are being formed, thanks to the accessibility of the nurse leaders. That's
Yes.
important too. So things are moving on, and I hope, like you said, the individual efforts of each one of us collectively comes together and makes this profession a greater one, the rightful place that it deserves. Thank you so much for being on our show, ma'am.
And
Problem.
lovely talking to you, Pearl, and wish you all the very best. And I have spotted you as a very clear, spark many years ago, and you are doing justice to that. God bless you and continue to flourish and grow and make a difference to our profession.